so let's start with week 6, man. I didn't make a list of things I saw throughout the weekend. Like, did he just leave?
That? I didn't hear what he said.
You had to piss or something? All right, well, we're going to keep going.
All right. See ya, bro.
We're sitting here bullshitting, and then okay, let's start. Hey, gotta go. I'll be back. But half the sessions I watched while sitting in the U-Haul. So I was just streaming. I got unlimited data on my phone. I was just streaming the sessions. So I didn't. Okay, so I didn't record. I didn't write stuff down off to the side like I normally do, things I noticed. So I'm just going off of memory. But it was a pretty eventful weekend.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I know. Maybe we're supposed to start with the race, but I thought qualifying was the most interesting thing. Did you guys see that?
Definitely.
Like that Q1. I was just like,
yeah,
Mark. Everyone hates you, Mark.
Mark's such a fucking asshole.
Yeah,
such an asshole.
What did you think of that, Greg?
It was with was that with Bender that he got into it with?
No, it was the session. That was Q2. In Q1 was Maverick. Did you watch Q1?
I can't remember. I watched one of them. Maybe it was only Q2 that I watched.
That was the one.
If you missed Q1, you missed the thing.
You almost should just go watch Q1 just for it. Yeah, the entire time, Mark went out behind, started, and just waited for Maverick to get ahead because Maverick had good race pace during practices. Yeah. So Mark just followed him the entire qualifier. And when he went out to pit and slowed down, Mark would stand up and slow down and would stick behind him the entire time. And Maverick was yelling at him and everything, and Mark just
Maverick was so pissed.
Yeah, he's trying hard to recapture the flame here, but
yeah, he might get there, he might not, but it's totally. It was unbelievable. I've seen people follow other guys to get a tow, but never to that extent.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The entire time he would.
Yeah, Mark followed him on his first stint. He didn't like it. And then he came back out. Mark sat in his garage on his bike, just waiting. And then finally Maverick left his garage and Mark went right after him.
Oh, jeez.
And then they did their outlap. They did their outlap with Mark following him. And Maverick kept looking over his shoulder, going pissed off. And then when they go do their hot lap, Maverick didn't do a hot lap. He went back through the pits again. I've never seen that.
So that's why he apologized to him, because I saw that he apologized to Vanellis.
Yeah, he didn't mean it, though.
That must have been why. I was wondering.
He didn't mean it. Mark didn't give a fuck. He didn't mean that. He followed him. So Maverick skipped an out. After you do your outlap out on your final stint, you only get 3 flying laps. And Maverick skipped a flying lap to loop back through pit lane again to try to get Mark to leave him alone. And Mark just followed him. Maverick almost came to a full stop, and Mark was just sitting right behind him. What, bro?
But so also, was it a psychological thing by Mark, or he was truly just trying to figure out the time?
Well, it was both, because Mark wanted to follow him around the track to get a good lap time, but he also didn't care if he fucked with him. And it was really crazy because Maverick, Maverick, you're supposed to be a championship contender. You have to make a good lap. Mark, so it was weird because Maverick's if I go back through pit lane, he won't follow me.
Right.
It's dude, Mark doesn't give a fuck. If he doesn't place in the top 10, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You have to be on the podium this week.
What
Mark doesn't. It doesn't matter what happens to Mark.
Is there a history between those two?
Maverick doesn't like Mark. They've gotten to it before, just little tiffs on this kind of stuff before. And Maverick's even said that he doesn't like being followed like that.
Oh, okay. So Mark clearly knew what he was doing was pissing him off then.
Yeah, but also Mark just picked the fastest rider to follow. It wasn't necessarily, I need to screw with Maverick. It was, I need a good lap. Maverick's the fastest rider. At the same time, I get a screw with him, so who cares? But I've said, sorry to keep yapping so much, talking over, but I told Carl like last year or whatever, like Maverick does not have the mental he's not wired to be a champion. He doesn't have. He's too mentally weak, and this is more clear than ever before. That is something as simple as another rider following you, and you can't even. You're the fastest rider in Q1 by a ways.
Yeah,
and you can't even get a good lap in because somebody's following you.
Yeah,
like you fucking baby. Because Mark followed Brad Binder on the next lap. Brad didn't care. He just went and turned in a lap.
Hey, yeah, and Binder had a good race too.
When he's followed Fabio in the past, Fabio just smirks to himself, takes it as a compliment, and then goes and does a good lap.
Yeah.
And in one case, he was following Fabio. This was 2 years ago. He was trying to tail Fabio, and he couldn't keep up, and Mark wrecked trying to stay with Fabio.
Jeez.
It was pretty great. He got what was coming to him. But Maverick, yeah, it was just if I was a Yamaha boss, this would be near the top of my list on reasons why I didn't renew Maverick's contract for next year. This would be maybe one or two. I think it's that big a deal. I think it really shows just a mentally weak rider who will never deliver you a championship.
Yep, that's a good point.
And I remember this season started because this has been a thing for a while, and we really talked last season about Maverick and the reason he only does good when he has like everything working for him. But the start of this season, he came out so strong, and he had like a new kid coming. Where it's like, man, maybe he's in such a good mental spot that things are going to work for him. And so that was the kind of how the season started. But now we're seeing like the old Maverick come back.
I think what it is something you see in all sports, in basketball, whatever. The guys that are wired to be champions, the guys that are wired to be winners, they're like that when they're kids, they're like that when they're rookies, and they're like that when they're veterans. They don't like go through a transformation midway through their careers and turn into a ruthless winner.
Yeah.
They just don't. Like if then sorry, Mav, you're going to win some races. Maverick will never win a title.
Mav's no Fabio.
He's no Fabio, and he's probably no Franco.
Yeah.
If I'm Yamaha, I'm like, fuck this guy. Let's get Franco in there next year. That dude came second last year on shitty machinery. Yeah. And he's actually doing okay on shitty machinery this year. He didn't have a good race today, but he also
race today was horrible. Oh,
Mark screwed up. When Mark wrecked, that sent Franco to the back of the pack.
Yeah, which I was surprised it didn't affect, because didn't Mark bump into, wasn't it Binder that he bumped into? Yeah, but Binder still finished top 5.
Dude, when you bump into sometimes when you bump guys, it doesn't affect them. It doesn't take them offline. Dude, did you see what happened before the race with Bastianini?
No.
Yeah.
Dude, how did you miss that? Like on the warm-up lap.
Oh yeah.
You saw. I'm sure you saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, he ran into the rear of Zarco because Zarco brake checked him.
And you see him like running around right before the races started.
And if you run into the rear of a motorcycle, you're usually in the back.
That's true.
The guy in the back is usually the one that gets screwed up.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
And he freaking.
Yeah, that's true.
Looked like an amateur rider when he locks up his front brake and goes over the front, or when he catapults, or when he's trying to do a endo or a stoppie and goes too far forward.
Yeah.
Cartwheels his bike.
So I know they mentioned there's going to be some investigation of what happened there. I didn't hear anything about that.
I didn't either. I mean, and Zarco got 4th place. Pretty great race from him, in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
because he didn't have pace all weekend, and then he shows up and gets 4th.
Dude, I don't know what I was more impressed with. The fact that Zarco did well. I was excited that Fabio finished first, because I think that was the guy I guessed would finish first this week.
We named podium. We predicted podiums last week, Carl, with just gut feeling, and Greg went with Fabio. I was pretty confident. I thought Pecco.
Yeah.
And that looked really good until turn 9 on lap 2.
Fabio's been week to week. His like free practices have just been laser like fast.
Oh, yeah.
Just lap after lap after lap.
He's looked really good this year.
The guy is insane. I mean, he won 2 races in a row. The third race, like, I'm glad Jack Miller won, but Fabio was easily going to win that race. And then he had the arm pump issues. So he had a injury. But he won the third race. And then the race after that was the wet race that when it was dry, Fabio looked like the best one.
Mm-hmm.
So if he hadn't got arm pump issues and Le Mans had stayed dry, dude, the guy could have easily had just won 5 in a row.
Yeah.
And he has 4 pole positions in a row.
Oh, that's
this is so last season he started off super strong, and this is just he's keeping it strong.
Yeah.
And so he's really, we're talking about like champion contender. He's the one that's really showing it. Like, I don't care what the leaderboard, plus minus, he's the one that's consistent every week.
Yeah.
Showing like he's going to win this season.
I think he has a really good shot. Sorry, Joel.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I was just kind of agreeing with his analysis. I think he does have a really good shot. He's ranked isn't he number 2 overall as far as the?
No, he's firmly in the lead. He was a 1 point. He was a 1 point in the lead going into this race, and now I think he's got a 16-point margin.
Okay.
And like Pecco, for instance, I think Pecco is super talented. Maybe just as talented as Fabio, but I almost wonder if, like, last year was Fabio's year where he started off good, looked great, and then hit like the wall, kind of the rookie wall, the second-year wall, and he's overcome that now. It almost seems like Pecco is now getting into the point where he's going to have the growing pains now, because he's been really consistent all year, and then he just trashes it out of first place.
Yeah.
So, and he had the pace to stick with Fabio the whole race, I think. Which I was looking forward to that, seeing how that goes. But I mean, turn 2.
So I'm also thinking back of another solid race for Rins.
Holy shit! I really thought he'd get to the end this time.
I mean, we should just. He needs his own podium for when he just finishes the damn race.
Rins gets over into Park Ferme, and it's just like Rins. It's his own special little.
It's just like
he gets a little medal.
Finish, yeah.
Here's your gold star, Alex. You actually saw the checkered flag. Wow.
Do you think at the rate he's going, do you think he'll be sponsored next year? I mean, that's a fair question, right?
I don't know who Suzuki has got. See, the reason I don't believe in Maverick is because they have Franco to plug into that spot to give a shot to. Like, give Franco a 1-year contract. Because Maverick, you've had him long enough. So they have somebody else. I don't know who Suzuki has. They probably have to go down to Moto 2.
4 races, he's crashed.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
4 in a row.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
80%. He doesn't even finish.
I mean, I kind of wondered
getting chewed out after these races.
Dude, that very first race when he crashed this year, and Carl and I saw it there, and we're like, Alex Rins is a crasher. I looked back like that week and kind of listened to what we said. I was like, yeah, we've been a little harsh to name him a crasher. And then the next 3 weeks,
boom.
Like, you want to talk about Matt and Steve talk about commentators' curse. I don't know. That's a pretty powerful curse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He'd call you a crasher, and he'd chuck it the next 3 weeks in a row.
Jeez.
Now, truthfully, each race, I'm no longer like, all right, Suzuki's, let's see what you can do. I mean, Joan, obviously, but with Alex, I'm just saying, which lap are you going to wreck on? Which lap are you going to wreck on? I'm just staring at him, waiting for it to happen now.
It's almost like you're rooting for it to happen.
Just to keep the streak going.
It's pretty funny. I mean, it's too bad because it's this guy's career, but at the same time, like,
Yeah. Well, it's almost every podcast we're wondering, is it going to be the race he actually finishes, or is he going to do well? Is he going to end it just same result?
And all those races he's crashed in, he's looked fantastic in practice. And
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say he has good practice runs.
Yeah, and he qualifies better than Joan Mir, his teammate.
Yeah.
And he just, I mean, at least when Maverick looks great in practice and disappoints in the race, Maverick finishes the race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know,
It's
another.
It's kind of what I said earlier. I don't think he understands his bike as well as Mir.
That's a really good point.
When I watched the two, even today when they were racing together, I got the feeling that Mir was biding his time more, where Alex, he just looked like he was being a little bit more aggressive. He didn't want to be behind his teammate. He wanted to, like, he was trying too hard to pass Jack instead of letting it come to him. And I think he burns through his tires, and then a little thing goes wrong and he loses it. That's like, I think he rides that bike too aggressively and without enough patience. And Mir understands that bike much better, and he got third place.
Yeah.
He was second for a second because
he had a decent. He actually did. I thought Mir had a really good race.
Oh yeah.
The dude just sucks at qualifying.
Yeah, the other thing that really stood out to me in this race was how I think there was either 3 or 4 KTMs that finished in the top 12 and 0 Hondas.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't notice the Hondas actually, but
there was not one. The highest Honda was actually what's his name's brother, Mark's brother, and he finished I think 14th or 15th.
What is going on with Mark's brother? Why is he sucking so much? Do you know, Carl? Any ideas?
He's because at the end of last year he looked fantastic. He closed out the year very strong, but something changed with the Hondas, and no one knows what's going on. Frankly, the only one that's actually showing any amount of like good races the past couple, is actually Taka. I mean, well, other than the crash today, but he's been. I mean, he was going to be in the top 10 had he not done that. But all the other Hondas are at the bottom.
That's still not good.
No. Well, it's kind of.
He's really only had one good race, Taka.
Well, the Hondas cannot figure, and actually they were talking about it throughout today, and we've talked about it before, Joel, like what's going on with the Hondas, and now it's really becoming like no one knows what's going on with them.
Well, the fact that Simon could go over to Alberto Puig, I think it's Puig. The fact that he could talk to Alberto and imply there was something wrong with the bike, and Alberto didn't bite his head off.
Mm-hmm.
That tells you a lot. Because usually Alberto gets pretty pissed if you question how good his bike is. This time he was like, we're figuring some stuff out. It's like, yeah, you better, man.
Yeah.
I did like the point. They made a good point. It might have been Steve. I think Steve was talking about it. And I think Alberto mentioned it as well. The Hondas have always been difficult to ride. And maybe they've had issues, but the fact that Mark is so unbelievably skilled, he's covered a lot of the issues. And now that he's been out in the way and is coming back to it, all those issues are pretty evident. And so they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, I heard Simon say that too. That's exactly similar to what we've been saying as well, is that Mark, because he doesn't have the win it or bin it attitude, the win it all, he's having to play a little nicer with the Honda, treat it like a normal rider does, not like a freak does.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, he can't ride it anymore. And it's kind of funny. This was always a critique of Mark. Like, let's see how well he does on another bike. Another manufacturer, not just the Honda.
Yeah.
Now I'd be curious. Now that he is a more conservative rider. I mean, we'll also need to see until Mark gets back to full fitness, when he's not exhausted from his shoulder being hurt and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We'll have to see actually how good he is, but it's clear that bike is still messed up.
There is, I mean, it isn't, I mean, there's something just completely off because, like we said, Alex finished out the season last year very strong, and Taka rode extremely consistently all last season. And now suddenly none of the Hondas can do anything. Something happened.
Yeah, we both thought that we both thought Honda was going to be the team to beat this year because Mark was going to come back. Pole we thought would take to this bike much better, and we just figured Taka and Alex with the new machinery would make a step. Everything's gone the other way.
Yeah, even speaking of Pole, he even had a kind of a tough race today. I think I was wrong. I'm looking at the results. Looks like he finished ahead of. He did get 12th, so he did finish ahead of Alex. But
okay.
I mean, that tells you how I mean, I didn't even realize that live race wise. I thought he was in the bottom. I thought he actually finished below. I thought he was like somewhere between 15 and 16.
I don't know if Matt and Steve even said his name the whole race.
Anything below top 10 though is not.
No,
not for Repsol Honda.
Oh, to have it's. I don't know. Were any of you guys shocked too about like KTM getting 4 bikes up there?
Oh, I actually wanted.
I wasn't. Go ahead, Carl.
I said I wanted to bring it back to KTM because Greg, you mentioned it a bit ago, like doing things, but it looks like because they brought out a new chassis and it looks like things are looking great for them. So they own the fuel and they've been messing with fuels, and it looks like they found one mixture that works very well.
Yeah, they looked great. They looked really good, especially Brad. He was killing it.
What did Brad end up? 5th?
5th,
Sixth?
yeah. Fifth place, yeah.
Well, Miguel.
Miguel is his teammate.
Yep.
2nd place. Looking great too. So yeah, it was great to see KTM, man.
And Danilo got in the top 10.
Exactly. Yeah, we were excited to see how much progress KTM made last year. And then it was really sucked to have them be bad the first 5 races of this year.
Yeah. We were a bit critical of them because we're, with Michelin, because they changed the tires and they were just like kind of shrugging, all right, KTM, you only can use 1 tire. You got to figure it out. But it's great. I really wanted them to do well. And so it's good that they seem to have.
Rossi perked up when you said tires.
Oh.
Poor Rossi.
I had high hopes for Rossi this weekend because I noticed the same thing that Matt did when he said Rossi in the French GP. Rossi actually looked good when it was dry.
Yeah.
And they thought, okay, well, he had a good, after week 4, he had a great test day in Jerez. He said they made progress. And then you get to the French GP and you do well in the dry, but it's a wet race. And then now's the first full dry race in week 6. And you think, all right, let's see what you can do. And last by a long ways.
Yeah.
I'm going to echo what I said before. He needs to just give his bike. He just needs to switch bikes with Franco.
He does need to switch bikes with Franco. Poor Franco, man. He's just getting the test bike every week. And he's like a way better rider.
Dude, Franco is just like, I'm surprised he's just not like Charlie Brown walking all over the paddock. Because everything, so much seems to be going wrong with him, and only a little bits of it is his fault. But he hasn't made any more mistakes than anybody else this year.
No.
But just everything, when it goes wrong for him, it goes really wrong.
Yep.
Well, it's like just he has such a power gap between him and every other single bike on the field. It's like there's only so much you can do with that.
I know, man.
Franco really is being treated like, the redheaded stepchild. Like we just nobody cares about Franco. Here's this crappy old bike, Franco.
Just take a year off, Franco. We'll get back to you.
I know. I felt bad for him, man, because he's actually a very skilled rider, and he's just getting the test bike week after week after week. They're just like, hey, test this out, try this out, see if this works well.
Yeah, we said Franco. We think Franco's a top 5 or top 6 rider in terms of talent, and that's why I think Yamaha's got to toss Maverick to the curb and put. And I like Maverick, but toss him, kick him to the curb, let Franco ride that bike for a season, see what happens.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see how he would do there.
Yeah, but Rossi, man, that was
Rossi.
You know what? I was thinking as I was watching his team get his bike together and like do all the work that goes into it. There's so much work that goes into a MotoGP weekend from the whole team. I thought, how the heck do you stay motivated? Like, how as a team, if you, no matter what you do, as hard as you work, your rider is still in last place by over a second? Like, how do you even, like, when he comes in again, is like got the data? Like, how do you, like, all right, like, how do you maintain the high level, the edge that you need to really find solutions when it just keeps looking terrible and terrible?
It's kind of like the old guy is still hanging around. All right, like, guys, we can do this, and they was like, all right, rolling their eyes. I guess we still got to do this.
It's like any sports team that's on a losing streak.
Yep.
It's that losing becomes contagious around the whole team, and everybody's just. And the only way when the sports teams get that cancer culture of, not cancel culture, but cancer, that cancerous culture in the locker room and the clubhouse, the only thing you can do is like clean house at that point.
Yeah.
Well,
I just know I don't know if that's how they'll definitely do in MotoGP, but in other sports, that's what they do. They clean house.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or at least mix up. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Carl.
I was just say I don't know how much you can do mid-season with that, but next season Franco will probably at this rate be on the factory team, and Rossi will be here.
Well, what I'm thinking is like they may not clean house, but you got to at least mix the order up. And I don't know if I would wait an entire year for that. I mean, I'd maybe wait 4 or 5 races in, and if somebody's consistently doing, a bad job, I might bump them down to the test bike and bump someone else up.
You can't do it because they have contracts.
Oh, and the contracts are for the entire year. Okay.
Yeah, it's the full contract. It's that bike and that team. It's all contract.
Yeah. Well.
So
no wonder Rossi's just out scenic driving. He's good for this year. He's got his contract.
He doesn't. I mean, he just wants to be fast. He obviously he's richer than anybody else in the grid, and he's a legend in the sport. And he'll always be in it. He'll always be around. He'll always be around the sport. He has his own team.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, he has the pedigree to do what he wants to do. But you just wonder, if at some point he's gonna let someone step up and take that from him.
I think if he's not competitive, he'll just kick himself out.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, it was just sad because he had his whole like special Mugello helmet and everything.
Yeah.
Did you see it with that cow on it? And it's just like, okay, this is like one of his favorite tracks, and it's so far in the back.
You almost wish he had called it quits last season when he actually did pretty well through the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think there was no reason to expect it would just go this wrong.
This isn't not much backing, but his team didn't go with him, right? The guys
most of them did, but he wasn't able. No, he wasn't able to get all of them.
So I mean, that's not. I mean, come on, he's a legend. That shouldn't be anything. But I do wonder if that's messed with him a bit. I don't know. Towards the end of his last season.
Well, the Yamaha clearly this new Yamaha clearly looks like an amazing bike. Fabio's riding the hell out of it. Maverick rides the hell out of it on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
And so it's a good bike. It's up there with the Ducati, and they just Valley can't figure out how to make it work with his riding style. Somebody offered I read somewhere, it might have been on Crash.net's comment section, someone offered like a pretty good analysis of Rossi's riding style and why it doesn't suit that bike. But now I can't remember it. So Rossi was never a big like sweeping corner guy. I think that's a lot
gotcha.
of it, and that's how the Yamaha's more built, especially, and it gets more that way all the time. But I don't really know that much about it. Anyway, should we talk about next week predictions, what we want to see, and all that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I guess I just wanted to throw one.
Unless you had anything else for this weekend, Carl.
I just had one last big kudos for Zarco. Like I'm liking him more and more, and I mean he's tied for second right now in the standings. That's not to say he's going to be winning against Fabio, but he's been riding great this year. Like consistent, probably the most consistent Ducati.
Yeah, he's like. I mean, you'd say that about Pecco up until this weekend. But,
Yep.
I'd say that about both of them until this weekend.
Yeah. So let's good. I mean, Zarco, I love having Zarco in the paddock. I love his attitude. I love the way he rides, and he's the number one guy I'm rooting for to win a race now because he's never won one.
Catalan.
Yeah, let's see.
Get your predictions in.
I was pulling up. There's the layout.
Oh, that's awesome. That looks like a cool track. Check out that turn, number 12.
Let's see.
And
12's
5 is a nice sharp turn too.
12. Well, I was looking at turn 10 as the most dramatic.
Turn is
10
is the
10
almost.
Let's see. There'll be a lot of overtakes into turn 1 and turn 2.
I think that 12 will be interesting though, because there's a short straightaway at 13 to get someone right before you go into 12, and it's like.
What do you mean? The track goes counterclockwise, so it's 12 straightaways after 12.
That's what I mean. But so there's okay.
Clockwise,
so I guess the straight.
clockwise.
Okay, yeah, clockwise there.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think.
So a little straightaway, I guess, right after 12.
That kink at 11 will be a good That kink at 11 and 12 will be good overtaking spots.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know. I don't really know what this looks. I don't really think it looks, except for the big straightaway, it doesn't look like too much of a Ducati track.
I mean, there's quite a bit. I mean, there is a turn like at 13 that's not that steep of one, and 9 to 10 is a pretty good. I think they could use their horsepower pretty good on this track.
I think fourth sector is going to be a Yamaha sector with those long turns because they can hold an edge and carry high corner speed. I think the tight corners after a big straightaway, like in Sector 3, going from 9 into 10, lend to a Ducati well. And the KTM goes stable on the brakes.
I actually was just going to say I think KTM will do well on this track too.
Yeah, hopefully, especially with the new chassis and fueling.
Yeah.
Like, as far as predictions, I mean, you got to go with Fabio. I don't know what the hell is going to happen to Maverick. It'll be really interesting to follow the news over this week to see what people are saying about him, because the race is next weekend. It's a back-to-back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really. It's hard to call podium anything at this point because you're just looking at the same guys as always. I think you're looking at Fabio, Pecco, and probably I'd look for Franco to have a much better race. And so, like Mike said, the KTMs will probably be there now. So you'll get Brad and what's his name, Miguel, and hopefully Danilo.
I do think that Ducati, like Pecco, I think Jack sometimes can go either way, but Zarco's been pretty consistent. So if Pecco can, I'm sure Zarco will be in the running for up there.
I'm going to go
maybe not
Fabio.
exact podium, but I could see Fabio and 2 Ducatis.
You think Fabio and then 2 Ducatis, Carl? That's what you're calling? Do you want to name the Ducatis?
Probably Pecco, Zarco.
Okay. I'm going to go Fabio. I'm going to go my man Jack Miller at number 2. And I'm going to go with the dark horse Binder at number 3. Give me a KTM finish for third.
I'd love for Binder to get on the podium.
That's my dark horse.
We all like Binder, and then maybe Matt and Steve can bring back the Binder fan club. They kind of down, even though he had his best race of the year, they actually didn't get too excited about Brad like you were expecting him. That's because he's not run well.
Yeah.
So far. So maybe the bandwagon will be back on if Brad. But yeah, I'll be my biggest thing to watch for how the KTM's do next week.
Yeah.
And what
if they have another solid
Maverick
race.
and Fabio do.
Yeah, because this is and this week I believe the race is actually this Saturday, right? We get back to back.
Yep, it is this. It's this Sunday.
Sunday. Sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I would also say which. Oh, I was going to ask you guys. So which lap? I don't know how many laps this race is.
Are you trying to say which lap will Rins crash on?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Which
I gotta be honest.
What's his average, Joel? Are you running those numbers? What's
Yeah, I don't. I can't. Quick Google didn't tell me how many laps the race is, but
do we have his mean on crashes?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
I'll go with lap 11.
Lap 11.
I think he's been making a little further, so.
A little further. I think he goes the other way. I think he crashes really early. Maybe
that's what
he gets tangled up. He gets tangled up with somebody. It won't technically be his fault. He'll get tangled up with somebody going into turn 1, and like multiple riders will go down.
I was saying lap 3. I don't know, for some reason I'm thinking he gets 2 solid ones and he starts to get my hopes up, and then he just
we got 11, we got lap 3, and then we got first turn of the first lap. We've gone from will Rins finish to he's not going to finish. So what lap is he going to crash on?
All right, how about this?
One thing I am interested in, if we're talking about the so I've been kind of wanting KTM to figure things out. The thing I'm really interested in the news is actually on Honda.
Okay.
I want to know what's going on with them. So if they make progress, that's really what I'm looking at right now.
Well, that leads into my question is, where do we think Mark will finish? Do we think he gets a top 10 this week? Because he hasn't placed anything in the top 10 since he's been back.
Well, he's crashed back-to-back too. So
right.
I don't know. I'm guessing middle of the pack, 12 or so, because it is a back-to-back, so he's not going to have any recovery time. He's going to really want to finish because he's lost the last 2.
Right.
He's crashed the last 2 races. So I'm going to guess like 12.
That's a good pick. That's kind of what I would think.
My prediction is if Honda is able to figure something out over this week, he goes top 10. If not, then 13th, 14th.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's all we had.
And hopefully he follows. Hopefully we get him following Vanellis again on another practice.
It was high comedy, man. It was great. It was very insightful. You should go back.
I'm gonna go back and watch that now. Yeah, I am.
You just need to watch the last start at the 8-minute mark when you'll see them all in the pit lanes.
Okay.
So you just need to watch what happens when they leave pit the second time.
Yeah, I'm going to.
So for the second half, yeah, go ahead. It's pretty freaking funny.
That sounds great.
But yeah, that's it. It was a good chat. It was a really eventful weekend. So hopefully next week's just as exciting.
Yeah, and thanks for pulling that track up